Hello, welcome. This is Contender Series 2025 Week 1 predictions from myself. There's only 5 bouts, as per usual, for Contender Series events. Um, Not much else to say. The only thing is that Contender Series tends to be very hit or miss in the sense that, like, someone can be very high and I guess, very high on people's radars, for lack of a better term. And because of that, usually and most of the time, the opponent usually beats them. There's multiple examples of this. Um, like the Mauricio Rufy fight and the guy that he fought in the Contender series. I didn't watch that one, but I believe Rufy was not as high in confidence as the other guy, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But let's get started. The first fight is Mortaza Talha versus Baysangur Siserkayev. I have Siserkayev by KO round one. I would say he's pretty high in my opinion. I know this was rescheduled. Yeah, this was recently rescheduled because Serkayev is short notice, but Tal has put opponent that was set up for him basically dropped out, and Serkayev stepped in. That, I mean that's perfectly normal. Um, and but because of that, I think Serkayev will win. This is like the worst matchup he could have gotten. Um, KO round one. I'm very high on him. I think he wins very quickly and easily. Round one and round two KO for sure, 100%. Yeah, middleweight bout. Not much else to break down, in my opinion. This is very straightforward. I don't think there's not gonna be much else to prove. 0-4 KO wins since his KO lost to Bellato, and even then Bellato isn't doing too good either. So, the circuit was better, in my opinion. Next fight is Christopher Ewert versus Yuri Panfarov. I think Christopher Ewert he pulls it off. KO round one. Um, could be a decision, but I think the way that Christopher fights is a lot more to the punch. Like that. That's the best way I can put it. It's like he's to the punch. Um, Panfarov, I'm not too high on because I mean he lost to Torres Finney, which isn't bad since Torres Finney is winning in the UFC, but getting smudged in the wrestling and then getting subbed and finished by Torres Finney isn't the greatest look. Um, and it doesn't show that he is of that caliber yet to be or will ever be in the UFC, but you know, it happens. Things happen. He could be. And maybe these last two bouts that he won, he could have improved a lot, but I doubt it. And Urt was supposed to fight on a card. He missed weight. And because he missed weight, they put him on the contender series. So this is like his second shot. I think if they didn't want him, they wouldn't have put him on the contender series. So I think one way or another, Urt is supposed to win. So yeah, next fight. I would say medium confidence. I'm not too high on him. I would say medium confidence for sure though. He could win, but I wouldn't say outright. This could definitely go to decision, but I think KO run one for sure. Next fight is Jimmy Drago versus Ty Miller. This one's kind of weird, since they both had no contest win or no wins, no contest bouts right before their, or I guess right before this fight is supposed to happen. So I would say, or I have Ty Miller by decision, but that's only because he's the younger fighter. He has more potential. Like he does KO. He has no losses. Having no losses doesn't prove anything, but you know, at least shows that Drago has some weakness. That being a submission loss, and Ty Miller doesn't, or has at least not been exposed yet to that. So I think just for being the taller, younger fighter, he wins. Definitely going to the decision though. I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if anything if one of them gets finished. But yeah, that's for that bout. Next fight or bout is Radley Da Silva versus George Mangos. Um, George Mangos KO round one. Uh, I feel pretty confident on him. I would say I'm very high on George Mangos. Um, Hex coming from Hex is really really good in my opinion. Anybody who comes out of Hex is good, in my opinion, or at least goes into the UFC is good. The Silva doesn't isn't bad. Don't get me wrong, he's not, but he could definitely he BFL doesn't really show me anything whenever he's coming in from BFL, and Hex does. And being the younger fighter, not for anything else, like featherweight wise or like weight wise, but I think coming from Hex just shows more. I don't know why there's so many submission by the topology. I don't see him winning by submission at all. This will be a KO win. I mean, regardless, he'll be finished. He's gonna get finished. It's round one or round two, in my opinion. That's what I have, and I'm very high on Mingos. I would say. So next one is Ilian Boafia versus Nemias Santana. Um, I think I have Boafia round two KO. This one also is kind of a toss up in my opinion, but I'm gonna take the French fighter on this one. They're basically tied up. The only major difference is height because he's 6'5". Um, and I think at middleweight 6'5". I mean, let's look at who else is 6'5" or around that height. Izzy, RDR. I think it's just those two. Maybe Boralio. Maybe there's probably someone else. Yeah, just anybody around that height tends to use it to their advantage, and I think this is gonna be another example of this. Yeah, I would say I'm very high on Ilion, especially coming out of Eris. Eris is pretty good of a promotion. So is LFA in Jungle Fight, but he lost in Jungle Fight. But I think overall competition is a lot better in Eris, and I'm pretty high on Bafia. Now, that is my predictions, but if I were to choose my most confident ones, I would say medium confidence. He has a lot. Yeah, medium confidence. I feel like he has a lot of promise. High confidence for George. This would go either way, to be honest. Either one of them could be fine. I know it sounds like I'm underplaying Radley, but because he's Canadian technically, uh, like a Brazilian Canadian, but he, I don't know. I don't see much promise in the Canadian scene. Besides Jasmine Judovicius, uh, but this could go either way. But I'm very high on George, in my opinion. Like medium to low confidence. Um, Erwin also like medium confidence. Then Serkayev high. So I would say from these five, I would be Serkayev is pretty high. George is pretty high. Alien is also pretty high. Or medium. He's somewhere in there. But these two, Serkayev and Mangos for sure. Um, but if there were to be a dog, it would have to be this fight since it's so close, in my opinion. Yeah, I would say this fight. Um, or the George Mangos fight, of course. Um, those two are where it's closest, but I have a lot more confidence in Mangos to win. But yeah, that's what I have for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.